my man is here. Let me go to him. We are joined with the man himself, Alex Krainer. I am digging your hat. People always make fun of my hat. Screw those people. How you doing, Alex?
I have to go. I'm in competition with you now, officially.
Are you?
We always have these handsome-looking hats, and so I thought,
thank you.
I need to keep up with Jamal.
I appreciate you calling it a handsome-looking hat because people often deride me for this hat, but I don't care what those people think. I like.
Don't
this
ask
hat.
me what this is for. I don't really know. I expropriated the hat from my son.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Have you? And just so the audience will know, Alex Krainer, he is founder of Krainer Analytics and creator of iSystem Trend Following. He has worked as a market analyst, researcher, trader, and hedge fund manager since 1996. You've been doing this for a very long time. He has authorized several books, including Mastering Uncertainty in Commodities Trading, The Grand Deception, and Alex Krainer's Trend Following Bible. Alex, before we start, I am curious on something. Donald Trump has opened up a tariff war once again on all of these countries. Europe, Brazil, Asian countries. China has been left off the list this time around because apparently there's a framework that they're working on. 50% for Brazil, I think 35% for Europe. And it's not like when Trump was asked about, hey, how are you coming up with these numbers? Effectively, he's just pulling them out of his ass. What is going on with this? I mean, this seems outrageous to me, and it doesn't even seem to necessarily follow any kind of market logic. It's just, for Brazil, I kind of get it. It seems like he's freaked out about it.
It doesn't follow any market logic. In fact, I think that the whole conflict with the BRICS is contrived for the purpose of introducing the tariffs. So why is he doing that? Because, okay, so if you want to develop your economy so that your nation is prosperous, so that your population has good, well-compensated jobs, you have to move away from the British system of free trade, and you have to adopt the American system of political economy. Now, what is the difference? The American system of free trade is basically Troy opens the gates and anything goes in and everything goes out. Countries that adopt the British system of free trade generally turn into importers of foreign crap and exporters of commodity products, which means you're exporting goods that are priced low and you're importing goods that are priced at premium prices. Now, the United States was able to get away with this for decades because, thanks to the dollar, because the dollar is the reserve currency.
Right.
Everybody needs to earn dollars so they could participate in global trade. And the United States gets the dollar by basically printing them out of thin air. So that worked for the United States for a very long time. But nonetheless, we've seen that in the United States, the standard of living have steadily deteriorated alongside with deindustrialization, right? So the United States doesn't produce nearly as much as it used to back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, and so on, when the United States was basically the industrial powerhouse of the world. So this has all been abandoned in favor of basically speculation. Because what you do is you buy things from countries that export oil, gas, metals, plastics, whatever, cars, computer, anything. And basically you pay them with dollars. What happens is you're not sending pallets full of dollar bills to those countries. You basically credit that money to their current accounts with the Federal Reserve Bank. So these countries earn dollars, but these dollars sit in the United States for the most part. There's also the Eurodollar system, which is based out of London, But let's just talk about the U.S. economy now.
Mhm.
And then these countries can buy U.S. goods for this, or they can invest it in the United States. So what do? They plow it into U.S. Treasury bonds and into the U.S. stock markets. So it's the owner class that benefits. It's the bondholders. It's the 1% that owns the majority of everything, because the price of their assets just keeps going up and up and up and up. And you have the result is the everything bubble. Real estate, stocks, bonds, everything's in a bubble. Everything is at or near, okay, the bonds are not anymore, but the equities are at 200-year highs. Okay. And so what you want to do is you want to move away from that, and you want to reindustrialize your country so that people can start manufacturers and factories and start producing things that they can then export. Well, these manufacturers will create jobs, because in any economy, in any market economy in the world, small and medium-sized businesses generate about 70% of all employment.
Mhm.
And generally, manufacturing jobs are the well-paying jobs. It's where people get to take pride in what they created. They create something, they improve it, they refine it, they innovate, and so on. And so Trump, I appreciate that today it's exceedingly easy to hate on Trump. And he's making it exceedingly easy in particular. But he has, not just during his electoral campaign, but forever, since his 2016 electoral campaign, he has been talking about exactly this, about reindustrializing the United States, about bringing back industries, about protecting industries. Because if you want nascent industries to have a chance on the global marketplace, you have to introduce protectionism. You have to give them like a safe space in which to grow up, to overcome the childhood diseases, to become competitive at the world level. And to do that, you have to introduce tariffs. So I think that this is not him just shooting off the hip. Oh, we're going to punish you. We're going to punish you. You're going to be slapped with the tariffs. You're going to be slapped with the sanctions. He is taking advantage of this situation to do what he has been meaning to do forever. This has been he has said it explicitly. I want to make the United States the global manufacturing superpower. I think pretty much those exact words. And so this is what he's doing now. And, the part of the political class in the United States are so entrenched in thinking that United States is this global hyperpower, and that whoever doesn't prostrate themselves and succumb to our diktats, we punish them. And so he's doing that because that's the music that plays to people's ears.
Right.
But if you follow Trump, and you follow Trump being serious, this is what he has been trying to do all along.
I know, but let's say iPhones as an example of this. The iPhone industry is not moving back to the United States. Trump was okay with it moving to India. Okay, that is not the US producing iPhones. That is India producing iPhones, which is still not being produced in the United States. And Trump meaning I don't buy the premise that the United States is going to start making T-shirts when the cost of the T-shirt, or when that T-shirt can be produced somewhere in China or somewhere else. Meaning I don't buy that businesses are going to move their factories and industry back to the US when it's still cheaper, even with the tariffs, for them to do it elsewhere. And they know that Donald Trump is going to be gone and maybe dead in a grave in 10 years. I don't buy the premise.
The United States is not going to be producing T-shirts, and I think that it's a mistake to try to create favorable conditions for Apple and Google and GE and so on. What you want to do is you want to create favorable conditions for mom and pop shops, for small and medium-sized enterprises. And what's that going to be? You know, that's going to be maybe Gibson guitars being something in the world again, Steinway pianos, precision machining tools, you know, things in which the United States used to have a competitive advantage. Things that are how do you call it, native to the American people, things that American people care about, and therefore want to exceed at. They want to produce those things. I'm sure that as anywhere in the world, among the American people, if you meet them at a bar, they have, you know, you'd get an avalanche of ideas. Oh, this would be a great thing to do. There's an opportunity here. And, you know, I've been an entrepreneur for 3 decades now, in Europe, in the United States, Venezuela, Croatia. I can tell you that nothing beats the American entrepreneurial spirit, because doing business in the United States is easy. You talk to people, they listen. If they're half convinced that you have a good idea, they're ready to
run with it,
take a punt, to take a risk, to try to do something. Here where I am in Europe, I could talk until I'm white in the face, explain everything. If there's risk to be taken, they're not in. Usually the deal is, okay, I like your idea. You take the risk, and if it works out, we split the money. But if it fails, you fail. You know, like, I just want the upside. No, America, it's really, and it's not just my experience. I've talked to many people about that in Europe, because it's a common frustration. Mm-hmm. And the cultural divide is really sharp. So anyway, you know, make the long story short, it's not going to be T-shirt. It doesn't have to be iPhones, but I guarantee you, among the 300 million Americans, there's probably 900 million ideas, and some of them are going to be brilliant. And if you have access to favorable financing, if you can get a long-term loan from your local or regional bank at favorable rates, I guarantee you there will be hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs that already know how to make money. It can be oil drilling equipment. It can be, like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into a lot of different products that you and I don't even know about, because we buy the whole thing. Right. But there's widgets in there that, you know, somebody had to engineer and make. And there's a global marketplace for that we don't see, because it's, you know, between businesses. There's forever of that, you know, Apple and Google and Hollywood and GE and General Motors. That's not necessarily where the jobs and the innovation and the prosperity is going to come from.
You are ascribing forethought into what Donald Trump is doing.
I'm describing what?
Forethought, like that Trump is actually thinking about.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. I'm assuming that he's thinking about that, because
what if he's not?
He has been talking about that.
Well, what if he's not?
That's on the record.
What if he's using this as a geopolitical tool to go out? For example, let's say BRICS. Let's take BRICS as a really good example. He has also been the only president talking about de-dollarization, and it clearly freaks him out. And he's been talking about it in the context of any other country that is going to work with BRICS, I'm going to hit with, I think he said 10, 15% tariffs or whatever that number was. So he's using tariffs almost as a battering ram for American protectionism, even in the context of another organization that really has nothing to do with America directly.
That is true. That is true, Jamaro. But, you know, that's what's in everybody's sights right now. So he's talking about that. He couldn't be talking about the Brits are giving us a shaft, because nobody sees that. You know, you couldn't explain this to people, but I know that he knows that. I know 100% that he knows that. He couldn't touch into the sacred cow of European alliances. You know, oh, the German, oh, the French, Paris, all these wonderful, lovely things, liberal democracies in Europe, So you shoot your ammunition at the target that presents itself. And, this is again, not a real battle. This is not a real war. This is like World Wrestling Federation kind of battle.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I still disagree with you on this.
Okay, go.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Make your argument. Make your case.
Well, this could be deception. I don't think it is actually. But Trump, well, not Trump necessarily, but let's say Marco Rubio has explicitly said in a Senate hearing that that his administration considers the post-World War II order more than obsolete. And he said that post-World War II order has been weaponized against the United States. Now, this is not an obvious thing to say, but it is absolutely true. And the fact that Rubio said it didn't come from Rubio. This is the policy position of the administration. Means that they understand it. They didn't, they didn't ask AI to write randomly Rubio's speech by stringing a bunch of words together. This, words have meaning, and this is what he said. Why would he say that if they don't mean it? If anybody would try to imagine that this is like just an elaborate deception, I would ask them why. What's the point of this deception? The United States foreign policy has a very long continuity, and Trump could have just gone along in the same direction as the previous administration, and everybody would love him. There would be no need to push him the other way and get pushback in order to, again, go in the same direction. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't make sense. He could just be great friends with, he could show up on those gatherings when they bring together George W. Bush and Obama and Clinton and who was then next, Joe Biden, and they all walk together like they're the bestest of friends. This doesn't happen with Trump, and it's not. It's for a reason.
I know, but that's their point of view. Like when Letnick comes out and says we have big, beautiful turkeys or big, beautiful chickens or whatever the hell he was calling them, and he says, "Well, Europe doesn't take our chickens." I've been to Europe. I don't want them to take U.S. chickens.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I wouldn't want to take American chickens either. In fact,
exactly.
I have to say, Jamal, when I come to the United States, I have a hard time even eating because most of what you guys consider food there is something that I avoid. It's just,
and that Europe makes illegal. And then Europe makes it illegal. And then Europe makes it illegal. Like there are certain chemicals
correct.
Europe just doesn't allow. Now, from Litnick's point of view, that is them keeping us out of their markets. That is Europe attacking America. Meaning that is the framing that they use in the economic sense when they are talking about the European Union. And from my point of view, we should be more like the European Union in regards to what we allow in our foods.
Exactly. I agree wholeheartedly, Jamal. And I think that this has to be part of this reindustrialization because, so we're not just talking about great satanic mills, like big machines doing bam, bam, bam. It can be producing premium foods.
Yes.
It can be producing because you guys have a lot of land and a lot of that land is beautiful, productive, fertile agricultural land that could make, some of the world's best beef, some of the world's best chicken, some of the world's best pork. Why not? So I think that if entrepreneurs in agriculture also had access to favorable credit, then they would do this. If
they would not do that. That's what I disagree with you about.
You think they wouldn't? I know people who
because
would.
they haven't.
I know people who
because
would.
they haven't. Meaning,
do you know why? But you know why?
Because
the system is rigged against them. The system is completely rigged in favor of the big agriculture that produce soybeans, corn,
Oh, I see.
A little
I
bit
see your
of
point.
wheat, a little bit of
I see your
oats,
point. I see your point.
really
I do see
crap
your point.
quality pork, really crap quality chicken, really crap quality beef. But if
Your point
you
is,
if
if
you
there was a
break
market
up those
for,
monopolies, if you break them up and you allow small and medium sized homesteads, small farmers to grow food that they would feed to their family, then that will happen. And I'll have a bombshell for you later, because then you're probably not gonna invite me anymore, but I'm gonna tell it
you,
to you anyway.
Alex, you're always invited.
No, I know.
Look,
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. I know. But I on Thursday last week, I was speaking with I was on a podcast with Susan Kokinda. Do you know who she is?
mm-mm.
So Susan Kokinda is like she was a part of the LaRouche organization since 1971. She's very active in the Michigan Republican caucus, or
Okay.
whatever those organizations are. And so the thing that came up for discussion is exactly Donald Trump's frame of mind. Is he lost at sea? Is he confused? Is he a liar who got lost in his lies and doesn't even know where backwards is and where forward is? And so she has some direct experiences that she witnessed herself
With Trump.
recently in the very late stages of the last electoral cycle, right? So he was in Michigan because this is obviously the key swing state, very important. And she was present at the event for the Republican caucus. And I will read to you exactly what Susan Kokinda told me. And you'll find her. She's with the Promethean Action Organization. They have really good quality videos on YouTube and great, like they deliver very compact messages, no fluff, just like boom, and it's good stuff. So anyway, I have no association from them, so I'm not plugging them. I'm just saying she knows what she's talking about. And so she said at this event that she was present personally at, Trump addressed the attendees, and he invited them. She said he called on the people to join him in the ultimate battle against the global financier class. So, according to Susan Kokinda, these are the exact words that Trump used. All right. So now, is that a deception, or does he mean business when he says this? We don't know. We don't know. But this is what I'm talking about, listening to Trump when he's being serious versus Trump shooting shit off his hip for the domestic political audiences, because, he has to say something good so that the big pharma don't kill him. He has to say something so the military-industrial complex don't kill him. He has to say something so that the banking cartel doesn't kill him.
Let me ask you, what happens
Anyway,
to
so
America? Oh, go ahead. No, please.
here's why I think it is extremely important not to make a mistake of writing Trump off too quickly. Because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. But humanity is at a crossroads. And it may be the most important crossroads that we've been at for 2,000 years. And we have a chance of moving away from this globalist slave matrix system that is giving us, LGBT, climate change, permanent wars, fake democracies, pervasive surveillance, pervasive censorship, clouds, how do you call it? Sun dimming,
Yeah. And
chemtrailing,
putting those chemicals in the sky.
artificial meat, crickets for lunch, crickets for breakfast, worms for dinner. All of these things, where you have Bill Gates and Fauci and Warren Buffett and all of these people, versus something else. So that's the crossroad we're at. We have been firmly on this wrong path that is leading us to us becoming hackable animals that they will treat purely as termite workers, right? We will be hacked, we'll be chipped, and they will switch us off when we're no longer productive. That's the wrong path. The right path is something completely different, the future of freedom, prosperity, and peace, like permanent peace rather than permanent war. Now, let's forget the crossroads and let's now shift the metaphor to a ship sailing through a storm, because this crossroads is us coming on the other side of the storm intact. It's an all hands on deck moment. And all hands on deck moment means that there's a captain and there's the crew. And if the crew says, screw this is all wrong, this is not what I want, I don't know where this ship is going, and everybody raises their hands and walks off, that ship 100% capsizes and sinks. So you're stuck with Trump for another 3.5 years unless they off him sooner, right?
Right.
So I think that giving Trump the benefit of the doubt is a lesser mistake than writing him off. And I think that the best course of action is to give him the benefit of the doubt and then continue to apply pressure so that the ship does sail the right way and that it comes through the storm. That's my take, that's for whatever it's worth.
You're putting, it's worth a lot. And as I pointed out, you're always welcome here. So never think that.
Jamal, I know. I was only teasing you. Don't.
I debate all of my guests. Like, you'd be surprised. The argument I just had with John, I love John to death. Okay. Would you agree with me that there is a responsibility between the ship's captain and the ship? Meaning, if we're talking about Star Trek,
of course,
the captain can't go half-cocked. In fact, they can get rid of the captain if they think the captain is losing his mind because it damages the integrity of the ship.
Yes,
as a whole.
Yes,
okay.
That's
so. Staying with this
true.
particular analogy, Trump said, "I'm going to be the man who end wars, not start them." Now, he went to the Muslim community and he told that Muslim community, "I'm going to end that war." Trump had all the ability to end that war in Israel and get the hostage back, considering the U.S. pays 80% of everything Israel does. Yemen was firing rockets and ships because of the war. And if the war ended, Yemen stopped doing that. Trump went back on his word, gave Israel time to reload in order to rebomb Gaza. Right now, they're trying to ethnically cleanse the area. Yemen went back to firing rockets at ships. Trump's response to that wasn't, "I'm going to ensure that Israel sticks with the deal that Israel agreed upon." It was, "I'm going to go and bomb and kill a lot of people in Yemen." Is that a betrayal, considering he wanted to end wars and not start them? And by the way, I have a list of these. I have a list. So for whatever your answer is on this, there are like 5 or 6 more. The Epstein files is really another good example of that. Trump said, "I'm going to release the files." And when time came up, there's now talk about Dan Bongino leaving because he's humiliated Kash Patel. There's talk about that. There's talk about Pam Bondi being left out in the lurch. And you have Donald Trump putting out this message the other day, just going full retarded. And they say you're never supposed to go full retarded, where he's effectively like all of this. That's what he put out. And he is now arguing that there is a file, there is a list, but it was written by Clinton and Obama to make him look bad. And so it's not being released. You get Elon Musk coming out saying, this is a very big deal. What the hell kind of system are we living in if thousands of kids are abused? The government has videos of abusers, and yet none of the abusers are facing charges. Meaning, I have MAGA people who are in this audience who are very upset with Donald Trump, the captain of this ship, for what they consider to be a list and a series of betrayals on every issue that Donald Trump ran on. So what are the crew, us, supposed to think of this when all of these things come across as outright betrayals?
Okay, so one thing I have a very, very difficult time with is Gaza. I won't even try to justify it because it's the worst thing that not just me, everybody, and it's the worst thing that anybody has ever seen. It's
in our lifetime.
It's a stain on humanity. It's a stain on every sane person's conscience. And this is not to justify Trump at all, but Israel has been created by the British Empire as a beachhead in order to control the Middle East and to command their resources. So Israel has been there long before Donald Trump even came into politics. And the roots of this conflict run very, very deep. And the sole responsibility, primary responsibility, lies with the British foreign policy establishment. To this day, they didn't let this go. They didn't just turn this over to the United States. They are still very deeply involved, and they are involved everywhere where you see the United States come and apply blunt power, blunt force. The Brits have been present for years, if not decades, setting the stage. And they only bring the Americans in if they need somebody to apply blunt force because they don't have a military practically, right? And so we have to take that into account. And that's a big Gordian knot to solve. I doubt that it would be possible for anybody to walk into the White House and then in less than 6 months to say, like, that's done. I don't know why the hell Trump made those promises in the first place.
Because Trump is a flagrant habitual liar. That's why. It's
very
straightforward. That's what I mean. Like, some of the stuff is very shallow and straightforward. And we pay 80% of that.
That is true. And I think that is the reason why he's practically his own worst enemy. Because I don't know, I think that the messaging could be more subtle, more sophisticated, more clever. And he's just shooting shit off the hip and hitting all over the place. But, a lot of these problems run a lot deeper. When he went to war against Yemen, that was 15th March, Operation Rough Rider. That was so profoundly idiotic. Like, so profoundly idiotic that at that time, I said, nobody is this stupid. This cannot be it. They've been bombing Yemen for more than 10 years now. They've been bombing the crap out of Yemen for more than 10 years. The Brits, the Saudis, the Israelis, the whole proxy war that was pushed again by Britain out of Saudi Arabia, right?
Yes.
We only hear the United States, but we don't hear the Brits. The BAE system, the British military contractor, had something like 6,000 or 7,000 employees in Saudi Arabia to maintain the planes. The engineers of that company gave statements saying that if we weren't here, this war couldn't continue for 7 days. This war couldn't. So they have been fueling and pumping the war on Yemen. But we only hear about the United States. It's the Americans, it's the Americans, it's the Americans. Why? Because the Brits also control the media in the United States as well. Okay. Trump bombing Yemen, there are a few explanations, potentially. The dumbest one is that they thought they were going to defeat Ansar Allah. That's just beyond idiotic. Nobody, I swear, nobody's that dumb. Even Trump's dog is not that dumb. I think it was, on the one hand, maybe an effort to show that they're doing something for Israel because they have these foaming at the mouth, fanatical supporters of Israel among the evangelical Christians and Zionist Jews. which are a very powerful voting bloc in the United States, right? They wanted him to go to war against Iran.
He did go to war against Iran. That's what I was about to interrupt.
No, he didn't. No, that was World Wrestling Federation war. That was World Wrestling.
Okay.
They were like, look, we got to bomb something. We're going to bomb you here and here.
He gave Israel
the green light.
He gave Israel the green light to overthrow the Iranian government, and Trump was all on board for it during a negotiation, no less.
So, yeah.
So
it seems, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced, Jamar. So before that went forward, there was no telling what the outcome was going to be. When the Israelis went with their bombardment, there was no telling what the outcome was going to be. So I think that if the Israelis managed to topple Iranian regime, Trump would have said, "Yay, we won." I was on board with it all along.
They even bombed Pezeshkian and the political.
I know. So I'm saying that had they succeeded, Trump would have said, "That's my victory," because that's Trump.
Agreed.
But that failed, and he was like, "Okay, these guys are losers. I can't bet with them."
Yeah, right.
So now the pressure was on him to double up the effort and to bomb the Iranians and to destroy their nuclear. Right. So what did he do? They talked and they said, like, look, we can't avoid this anymore. We're going to bomb you somewhere. So they were like, okay, well, you have 2 days to do whatever you have to do to evacuate your shit. So they did. Right. And before the United States got involved at all, I made this prediction. I said the United States is either not going to act, or if they act, it's going to be like a symbolic pre-telegraphed attack.
Yeah.
And the test of this will be if the Iranians respond with a symbolic pre-telegraphed retaliation. And that's exactly what happened. You're right. 100% that happened on whether it went through the Russians or through the Swiss embassy or through the Omanis, I don't know, but that was World Wrestling Federation.
That I agree with you. Yeah.
And, that's not random. You had to want to avoid that war. You had to want to avoid that war, to go through all the trouble, to, make things blow up, but nothing really changing. And then what did he do? He insisted, but like he's still insisting that Iranian nuclear program has been obliterated, right? That's what he says. Has it been obliterated? Probably not, but he's insisting that it was. Why?
He wants it over with.
Yes, exactly. He wants it over with because the Iranian nuclear program has been exactly the justification and the pretext for the Western powers to seek regime change in Iran, right? But they can't say that they're seeking regime change because we are democracies. We are all about human rights and all these wonderful things. So we have to pretend that we can't have Iranians have a nuclear bomb. That's like so dangerous that just like, anything but that. So that was the justification by saying that he completely obliterated it, the greatest military success in the history of the Milky Way galaxy. He removed the pretext. Do you understand? And now, how are you going to go regime change Iran if there's no more justification for it?
By the way, I agree with you on this.
You just burnt up your justification.
Yeah, I've said this myself.
So,
I agree.
That was a little bit clever, and I don't think that was random cleverness. That was premeditated cleverness, and I think it was discussed and agreed on with the Iranians because Trump doesn't want to go to war against Iran. So the bombs were as effective as the 2017 missile and rocket attack against Syria. When again, he found himself kind of painted into a corner. And then he called the Russian and said, like, 1 hour from now, we're launching a bunch of Tomahawks. Get out of the way. And then he launched, 50, 60 Tomahawks. and half of them never reached the target, and the other half landed in an empty lot. I think there was one casualty, and nothing was destroyed. But in the domestic, media and political class, everybody was, yay, we showed them the beauty of our weapons, Brian Williams and all these morons.
This is the moment that Trump looks like an American president. Oh man.
Yeah. They said at last he's being presidential, right?
Right.
This is the climate in which he is navigating, and it's for real. It's not a joke. These pressures are for real.
Yeah.
So it's all I'm saying, Jamal, is that I would be careful about writing him off too soon. And okay, so I had on Friday this very fascinating discussion with Ian Burlington, who is like a former Green Beret and reads history, analyzes things in a way that's unorthodox a little bit. And he said, like, Trump is at war, and it's a real war. And he's not. Ian Burlingame said it's not the war against Iran. It's not a war against Russia and Ukraine. It's the war to dismantle the superstructure that this financial oligarchy has built up over centuries now, and which has resulted in a massive theft of the commons. So his interpretation, which actually happens to coincide with this thing that Susan Kokinda said, even though he and Susan Kokinda don't know each other, Ian Burlingame's interpretation is exactly what she said, that this is the war he's at. And inevitably you have to wage that kind of war by deception.
Alex, how do you explain the big beautiful bill?
Oh, the big beautiful bill. Okay.
$1 trillion from Medicaid. The U.S. barely has a healthcare system in general. Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare in comparison to what Europe has is trash. My ex-girlfriend, Austrian, talked about, they're going to send me for my spa. I'm like, what? She said the state is going to send me for my spa vacation. Yeah. And I nearly fell out of my chair. And I met this other guy. I remember I was in Egypt. I had to get treatments in Egypt. And the guy was smoking a cigarette. He offered me a cigarette. And he says, how much do you pay for this? And as I told him the amount, he says, my government covers this. Anywhere he goes in the world, his government pays for his health care in those countries. Trump is draining $1 trillion out of Medicaid, nearly $1 trillion out of Medicaid. And what is he doing it for? To give people like him, Elon Musk, the financiers that he's supposed to be fighting, a big, beautiful tax cut. What is he doing for the poor? He is cutting services and increasing the amount of money that those people are going to lose year after year. How on earth is that him fighting the financiers?
Okay, so everything you just said, I would double check, because you are also at the receiving end of psyops from the opposite side. So I can't now. This is the part that I won't be able to articulate. But in this discussion, I had
just to be clear, Alex, I will tell you everything I'm saying is true. He is pulling nearly $800 billion out of $1 trillion out of Medicaid.
No. The part that I doubt is who's going to be the beneficiary of this. Okay.
Well, I'm telling you, I've seen the analysis. People who are at the bottom are going to lose benefits. The SNAP program.
They're going to lose those, Jamal. They're going to lose those benefits anyway. It's not like the system is sustainable. It's not like the system is sustainable. The United States is bankrupt. It's not like he's undoing this wonderful system that has worked for the people. It's been getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse for the ordinary people in the United States. A lot longer than since Donald Trump came to power.
I know, but he's adding another, $5 trillion to the budget over the course of a year. And that number is going to be, some estimates, $20 trillion. So we're already at $36 trillion.
Yeah, but the system is unsustainable. What that word means is that it cannot go on. It will collapse.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. What I'm asking, though, is
defending this system. is going to achieve anything at all. You have to collapse it. You have to.
Oh, so you're
push
saying
it
that
over
Trump
the
is
edge.
intentionally trying to collapse the American system?
Sorry?
You're saying Trump is intentionally trying to collapse the American system?
Trump is taking advantage of the dying agony of the dying system in order to gain power and maneuvering space for his government to do whatever the hell they want to do. Now, there's going to be a lot of disagreement in trying to guess what it is that they want to do, because if you take them at face value, you're going to say Alex is right. If you say, no, these are freaking oligarchs, they're thieves, they're just going to turn the whole thing to their own personal advantage and to the advantage of their businesses and their legacy and whatever. And fair enough, that's possible. I could be wrong, and this other interpretation could be right. But the system as it is unsustainable. And now I'll read to you a conversation that took place between Henry Kissinger and Paul Volcker.
But real quick, this is not conceptual, though. This is a bill. This is written in the law. So it's not really what I think.
I understand that, but Jamal, you have two choices in this thing. Either you continue with deficit spending and you get inflation,
right?
Or you impose austerity to preserve the system and you get a depression.
But Trump is also doing deficit spending. Trump is spending trillions. Okay, I'm just pointing out that he's doing deficit spending. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, but
he's trillions of dollars.
Very unfortunately, I can't articulate what some of the things that this lady Susan Kokinda said, but there are provisions in the Big Beautiful Bill that are very, very stimulating for small and medium-sized entrepreneurship. For example, one thing that I do remember is she said that if you start a business, I forgot exactly the condition, but they're like ordinary things, that you will be able to write off the whole entire investment in a year, which means not writing it off, not amortizing the investment over 30 years. You write the whole thing off in the first year. Okay, which means like tax-free. Anyway, like this deserves being looked into, because 100% what's now being shoved into the information space are probably the most negative interpretations of the bill, omitting certain things, making blowing up other things, and giving people generally a distorted impression of what the thing really is. So I haven't looked into the bill, so it might actually turn out that it's even worse than what you say.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All I'm saying is that it deserves to be judged on its merit, which means that it needs to be looked into, and one has to be very careful about whose opinion you accept, because Trump has many enemies, and then he has a lot of there's always a lot of people who will take money from his enemies to say what his enemies want to come out. Anyway, okay, so Kissinger and Paul Volcker. So if we're talking about deficits and shit like that. So Kissinger, and this is in 1970, right? Before the Nixon shock, before the decoupling of dollar from gold in 1971.
Yeah.
So Kissinger asks Paul Volcker, how do we preserve our hegemony? And Paul Volcker says, he became the head of the Federal Reserve towards the end of 1970, so 9 years later. Paul Volcker says, the one thing we must not do is be German. We must not impose austerity. if we try to do that, to reverse the deficit, we'll have a big recession and lose hegemony. Instead, we must grow the deficit. It will be paid for by the foreigners. Okay, so that's the, I'm not saying that Trump is taking advice from Henry Kissinger. Well, Henry Kissinger is, Paul Volcker. I'm saying that that's how the system works. And if you're gonna say like, oh, we have to, be conservative, pay down the debts, reduce the deficits, and so fine, but you'll get a recession, 100%, and then you're done. You're going to lose the midterms, and you're going to lose, the elections in 4 years. Not Trump, but the Republic, his faction is going to lose in 4 years. And so he's perpetuating the same system that was in place, that has been in place since forever, and particularly since August 1971, when the U.S. dollar convertibility into gold was broken. He's not doing anything exceptional. That he did it in 2016. Biden has done it since 2020. Obama has done it before. Clinton has done it too, even though they kind of, oh yeah, Clinton made, he made surpluses by raiding Social Security. Everybody since Ronald Reagan has done the same. Expanding deficit spending, piling on debt. And Trump is not doing anything very different. Now, it gives him power to allocate credit. It gives him the power to reshape the American political economy. Let's see what he does with it, because if he just gives a lot of money to Elon Musk, to himself, to his family, then crap, wasted opportunity. But if you see employment go up, if you see industries coming back to the United States, if you see entrepreneurship taking off, if you see credit allocation becoming available to small and medium-sized mom and pop shops, then maybe he's trying to do something right. But let's be careful not to mutiny before we really know what the captain's doing. You're muted.
To be fair, I was already a mutineer. I was never on bandwagon Trump, but I was open to him.
No, fair enough. Look, it's very difficult. It's difficult to be on the bandwagon with Trump, because we really are in the storm, which means that the circumstances are very disorienting, And Trump himself is not the most eloquent person in the world. It's extremely hard to read him. He comes across as impulsive. So he says one thing today and the opposite tomorrow. But I am not convinced that all is lost. And I'm not convinced that things he stated as his mission in his serious moments, I actually believe that he was sincere. Okay. Making the United States a manufacturing superpower, defeating the
financier class.
Financier class.
Fair enough.
Rejecting the post-World War II global order and embracing multipolar integrations.
I appreciate that.
You'll notice the Russians and the Chinese are giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I think the Russians were giving him the benefit of the doubt.
No, they still are. Well, the Russians. The Russians is a big, broad concept. I would say Vladimir Putin.
Okay, fair enough. Last thing before I let you go, and I appreciate that point of view, by the way. I do appreciate it. I disagree with it, but I appreciate it. And I understand.
That's okay, Jamal.
I understand what I understand where you're coming from.
A
You
lot of people
explain yourself
disagree, and I
very well.
don't expect everybody to disagree. But
No,
like
but you explain
your
yourself very
perspective
well.
is fair. My perspective is also fair, but we're both guessing.
Yeah, you explain yourself very well. You make your case, and which is all I want. I want people to be able to make their case and give them space to do it. It's not like a TV thing where you get 5 minutes. You have to, thing.
Yeah.
Last thing, Epstein. You had a very interesting take on Epstein.
I knew you were going to ask me about Epstein.
Yes,
okay,
in fact, that was the entire reason I brought you on. We got into the completely different story, but that's okay.
So
it's a really interesting.
On the subject of Epstein, I have to say, for the record, I never expected that the Epstein files would ever become public.
Really?
Yes. Although I have to say, I did expect that they would let a number of token heads roll just to, to give some red meat to the public. To say like, look at these monsters. We're gonna prosecute them and so forth. Why? So Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, this was an operation that goes way, way back. Yes. Again, it's Mossad and MI6. Again, it's London. Ghislaine Maxwell, she comes from London, from that establishment. She was close to the royal family. And then, she meets Jeffrey Epstein, and then the operation develops and grows in the United States. They went through a lot of trouble to develop a very wide network of contacts with very, very powerful people in the United States. Yeah. And to draw them into all kinds of compromising situations and to build up all these compromat files, with some of the most powerful people in the world. And this is a very, very powerful weapon, which, if you give it out into the public, you deprive yourself of that weapon. So, if you are Trump, if you are head of the CIA, if you are head of the Justice Department of the FBI and so on, you might like to have all those control files of all these people, because then you can control them instead of the previous. So, you now own the magnum opus of Jeffrey Epstein and everybody else who was behind this. It wasn't just him.
Right.
And so now you have power over some of the most powerful people in the world. And you notice, at this point, you would expect to hear Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, the Podestas, Robert De Niro, Tom Hanks, screaming at the top of their lungs. But they're very quiet, aren't they?
They're not, yeah.
Where are they? They're nowhere. Nothing. Crickets. So I suspect that the decision was made, this is too valuable, this is too powerful, we're just going to keep it. It's the ring of power. It's mine, my precious. So they decided to keep it. And then I have to say something on the subject of justice, because the idea that this comes into the public and then the victims of the Maxwells and Jeffrey Epstein's obtain justice is a delusion, because the system is completely broken and rotten. We all have, not just the United States, pretty much the collective West has a broken two-tier justice system where if you're part of the oligarchy or their servant, then you can expect to walk scot-free, even if you got photographed eating babies alive.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're an ordinary person, you can end up years in prison for shoplifting or for standing on the street and praying silently in your head. That's how the system works. So Epstein, Maxwell, all of their clients, they are the insiders. They are the oligarchy. So, this could go into long, drawn-out legal battles, appeals, more appeals, stretch for years. You know what they do. You know what they do to the plaintiffs in these court cases. They make their life hell. They make them relive everything, and they, try to character assassinate them. They try to imply that they're inventing this, that they're doing all this for money. They find all the dirt in their life and bring it into the public domain. And in the end, nothing happens. So we don't even have to imagine this. This happened. Virginia Roberts, Virginia Griff, yeah, she brought a case against Prince Andrew, right, in 2021. After 2 years, they settled out of court. No guilt for Prince Andrew, so no prejudice against him. Today, he's a free man, and she's dead. So, this is a terrible thing, I'm going to say. But if the justice system is broken, then there's only one way for people to get justice. And so I'm not suggesting of finding these people and killing them. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that I think it is possible to bring this list out all the same, even if the government doesn't. And there's this young man named Ryan Dawson who has done a lot of work with this, and he has already underscored a large number of names that are on that list. And so if he was able to do it, we can all do it. Well, I can't. I'm kind of busy.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
There's only so many battles you can fight.
Yeah.
It's up to the people. That's what I'm saying. If we want justice, we can have it. We can name and shame all these people. But the idea that it's going to be one of those Matlock or Perry Mason moments, Your Honor,
Not gonna happen.
It doesn't happen. That happens in Hollywood. In reality, these people walk scot-free, and the victims remain victims. Only, their life is made hell through the whole process. This is why, I didn't expect anything from that list, and I expected only token heads to roll.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's my take on it. So I had low expectations. So my disappointment is also relatively small about that whole issue.
Alex, this was a fantastic breakdown, fantastic interview. You have always my appreciation, man. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Jamal. Always a pleasure to join you. And I have to say, I really like my color. Completely uncoordinated, but it kind of works, especially when you put it in that frame with with those like professional looking news thingies.
Yeah. Oh, right, with the bar. Yeah.
It works like we already almost coordinated it in advance.
And just so the audience would know, Alex Krainer, he is founder of Krainer Analytics and creator of the iSystem Trends Following. He has worked as a market analyst, researcher, trader, and hedge fund manager since 1996. I was literally just getting out of school, August of 1995.
Great pleasure, Jamal. All the best to you, to your viewers, and all hands on deck. Stay alert. We're winning this one. Even if Trump is a fraud, we're winning this one.
Alex, man, you be safe, okay? Have a good one, man. Thank you for this.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.